Hello, I hope you are fine with me and my suave voice. Um, yeah, literally just a chair. Um, how are you feeling today, chair? I'm glad to hear. So far we've actually had some pretty good battles today in the field. Um, an interesting development now, if we were to take a look at the bracket, is I thought that Elijah ended up winning, and he's going to be going up against Landon Morjal and Top Cut for top four. Our stream game is actually going to be a repeat match of, I believe, round 3. Andrew Navarro versus Jonathan Martin. As we saw what happened in the last round. Saw that turn 1 double critical hit. Andrew's Calyrex Ice Rider and Amoonguss. A very strong start for Jonathan. Now, we have the grudge match. I'm curious to see how this will go. We've seen both of their teams already. Interesting things to note looking at teams. Andrew's Golden Go actually is going to be Terra Normal. It's going to be good into the Calyrex Shadow Rider matchups. Unfortunately, we actually didn't see any Shadow Riders today. Actually a few things here that were specifically prepared for anti-Calyrex Shadow Rider measures, but as we had seen on the graphic earlier, most common Pokemon is actually Terrapagos today, which, interestingly enough, the last Terrapagos have actually been knocked out of the bracket. Looking at Jonathan Martin's team sheet, it's pretty much what we had seen before in the game. It's Citrus Berry and Moongus, Terra Water, helps into Glacial Lance Resist, Urshifu Rapid Strike, next to Kyogre, and the rain is really strong. Both the Pokemon here, both those Pokemon and the Archaludon are all Terra Grass for immunity to Amoonguss Spore. Tornadus Terra Dark to help deal with the Prankster from Whimsicott, because Whimsicott's been picking up, especially as a partner of Miraidon. And then looking at Andrew's team coming up. As I had said before, the Terra Normal Golden Go helps into Shadow Rider. It's not going to be as useful in this matchup here. This is a Calyrex Ice Rider, which, with the Terra Water that we saw in round 3, helps into tanking incoming Kyogre attacks. Amoonguss is Terra Fire, and the Incineroar notably does not have Will-O-Wisp. But does have a Citrus Berry though, so with Calyrex on the field, you won't be able to use that item, but once it's off the field, it actually will be pretty helpful in Incineroar, just Incineroar things. Looks like they're getting into team preview right now. We'll actually be getting into the game very soon. Looking at the team sheets here in front of me, other little things to note is Andrew's Raging Bolt. We've slight variance on the Raging Bolt compared to what we had seen earlier today. Andrews actually has Electro Web for a speed control option because of the lack of Tornadus on this team. And also that Andrew has opted for a single strike Urshifu with the Focus Sash. Our competitors are getting into battle right now, and we'll end up seeing what they end up leading with. I wish both competitors luck. Right, Jonathan leads off with Kyogre and with Urshifu. That's the good old tried and true lead that he led last time we'd seen him on stream. Kyogre sets the rain, and then Urshifu has Terra Water Surging Strikes in rain. Does some overwhelming special damage. Not even just special damage, just damage in general if you resist water. Andrew here is in a very weird spot with the Amoonguss because either Pokemon on this lead actually Terra Grass to be immune to Spore. So it comes down to a very specific call that he has to make. And another thing is that Andrew can actually threaten a little bit of spread damage with Electro Web. It's not going to be enough to claim specific KOs, but it will be enough to up the speed, start slowing down everything else. Jonathan swaps to a Moongus here, and from the looks of it, I believe that is going to be Terra Grass on the Kyogre. And then the Water Spout comes in, does under half the Raging Bolt, and more importantly, the Amoonguss actually tanks it pretty well compared to what happened last game. Now, this click Spore into the Kyogre, Terra Grass. The Amoonguss now is unable to click Spore into either Pokemon because, well, both of them are immune to Spore now due to their Grass typings. Actually crazy, like in the team building, just some of the options that you can do, especially with terrestrializing in this format, of being able to just match specific matchups up. And point, like, half of Jonathan's team has some way of being just anti-Amoonguss. Instead, what this means now is that the niche the support that Amoonguss can do really is just Pollen Puff to the ally. Andrew's Raging Bolt lets go a Draco Meteor into the Jonathan's Amoonguss, which procs Citrus Berry. It's actually at -2 now. While this Kyogre clicks out a Water Spout. And that might actually be in range of a 3-hit KO. And Jonathan goes for Spore there into Andrew the Amoonguss, covering a swap. I assume he figured that probably like the Urshifu or the Calyrex was coming in that slot. That's about my best guess. They're the ones up there playing, not me. I'm just here yapping. Does still have Terra on the table right now for like use it to adapt, but the biggest thing right now for him is trying to get something like Calyrex into position. Especially now that the speeds have been dropped on the Kyogre and on the Amoonguss, actually start ramping up. And the full switch lets Jonathan's Kyogre tanks it pretty well. More importantly, Andrew's able to switch out and get something else into position, or actually just sacrifice something to get another clean swap in. That happened the last round where, willing to just sacrifice a Pokemon, you can bring in your very high-powered restricted safely. And I imagine that's what Andrew's game plan is here with the Raging Bolt, both to reset the stat drops and potentially Calyrex safely. Comes the Calyrex Ice Rider. Nerve would probably have been useful about 2 turns ago when that Amoonguss got chipped down into Citrus Berry range. Ooh. Kyogre does a lot of damage in range. Ooh, and then the Spore comes out into the Calyrex as well. Fortunately, now the Calyrex has to deal with multiple turns of sleep. Isn't bad though, because Urshifu comes in, and regardless of how the Urshifu's trained in terms of speed, Kyogre being at -1 from the Electro Web is actually going to be pretty relevant here, because the ability to click Wicked Blow into something for just generally very strong damage. Jonathan's case though, has the ability to click Rage Powder to redirect the move away. Andrew uses his Terra Orb, going on to the Urshifu for boosted Wicked Blows. Another interesting note is if Argalon is in the back, for example, thought happened back in round 3 that Terra Dark Wicked Blow always crits, and it will ignore, say, like the stamina boosts. That won't matter here. Rage Powder redirects the Wicked Blow into the Amoonguss. More important thing is that the Kyogre has not taken any damage yet, so this is still a full-powered Water Spout. Urshifu down to the Focus Sash as well. An interesting thing to know, like, such a really high power level in the format. Focus Sash is an item that's been a lot of use now. Bolt comes back in on Andrew's side, and Urshifu comes out on opposing side for Jonathan. Thing is if you're in Jonathan's position right now, you feel very comfortable because the Raging Bolt is in rain. Well, even if it's in rain, or even if it resists the Earthboot, it's in rain. So the Surging Strikes, if Jonathan wanted it to lock into that, would do a lot of damage. Thunderclap here was into the Urshifu, but Jonathan went for the Aqua Jet to basically have the faster priority move, so that the Thunderclap would always fail. With that, Jonathan wraps up game 1 in a pretty convincing fashion. Actually, I don't even think he needed to reveal the last Pokemon in that game. Yeah, that shows just the power that Kyogre's had for years. It is longest time. For the longest time, Kyogre just had the strongest attack in the game. Whatever kind of it wanted, Water Spout in rain. It's been a good mon in terms of just what it does. More Pokemon now that can do like what it does similarly. Some of it also looks back into what Kyogre can enable, such as you were seeing with the Urshifu and Rain. That's just another really big threat it can put out. Archaeodon being added in the Indigo Disc is another Pokemon that benefits in Rain, especially from Kyogre, because it has Electro Shot as its signature move, which bypasses the charge turn, get the special attack boost, and then you fire it off. So Jonathan's team, even without the Kyogre in play, still has a lot of potential ramp-up pressure. In Andrew's scenario here, gotta like a way to probably just adjust to Kyogre plus redirection on lead. It's a very scary thing to deal with. Because as you're seeing, the Raging Bolt, like, it takes the damage, but for example, if the Amoonguss redirects it, then that's where it ends up just being such a huge problem. Ready to go into the next battle? Alright, coming into game 2. Kyogre Urshifu on lead. And then that's Calyrex Ice plus Amoonguss. Taking the Surging Strikes from the Urshifu. And potentially like the Ice Beam from the Kyogre. Kyogre still has the ability to hit the Calyrex very hard with spread moves like Origin Pulse, Water Spout. And it kind of potentially force Andrew to Terra early and have the very risky scenario of something is going to probably Terra Grass here to be immune to Spore. Down to Jonathan to assess what. It looks like if I'm in Jonathan's position, I probably would still throw Terra Grass onto the Kyogre because that had your highest damage potential out, and I'm not as worried about like the redirection immunity from Rage Powder, but you want the sleep immunity just because something we've noticed last week in Orlando is if you can stop the restricted from actually acting, to cut like the damage of a team down by a lot. Andrew, this Terra Orb, it actually looks like Jonathan did not opt to Terra at all. That he wanted to just Glacial Lance thing coming potentially. Another play that Andrew had available to him on this turn was actually just to try to get Trick Room set up. Alright, Surging Strike comes in, Urshifu's, or into the Amoonguss slot. The Urshifu's taking Rocky Helmet chip from each hit, which is going to put it down to about half HP. Rocky Helmet does 1/6 flow to the... Like Rough Skin and Iron Barbs is the ability, if a contact move hits into a Rocky Helmet holder, they will take 1/6 of their HP every time, rounded down. That Water Spout actually does not KO anything. Andrew gets to put the Kyogre to sleep is the biggest thing. Urshifu is down to about 15-20%, but more importantly, the Kyogre, which is the highest damage dealing Pokemon in this team, now asleep. If you're in Jonathan's position, you gotta like cut your losses here with the Kyogre, or potentially find a way to outlast the sleep turns. Urshifu is also scarfed into Surging Strikes now, which means that both Pokemon here on the field resist the Surging Strikes, and the Amoonguss is actually going to switch out for a little bit of Regenerator as well. Raging Bolt's actually in a pretty prime position to actually start clicking its electric moves. Surging Strikes into the Calyrex does alright damage, but kind of need like the damage to start ramping up actually before the Calyrex starts snowballing. What's going to happen here is Andrew's going to probably be able to click Glacial Lance and then get at least one attack boost from this. It does after the Kyogre off of a critical hit. You're Andrew in that scenario, knowing what happened in the first round, I actually feel a little bit vindicated from that. Calyrex gets a Chilling Neigh boost, not to be confused with Moxie. And yeah, this is going to be a potential for Calyrex to snowball like we had seen last week. It's a Pokemon that is generally very good at doing damage, but it's kind of known for snowballing, so if you can stop the ball from rolling immediately, that's usually how you deal with Calyrex pretty well. Now that the Urshifu's gone, the Raging Bolt is now the fastest. No, the Archaludon's actually the fastest Pokemon on the field still. I would be potentially worried about a Draco Meteor coming into the Raging Bolt slot, because in round 3, I think you saw that happen, and I think the Raging Bolt did not tank this. Really also be worried about like Kyogre waking up now because it has taken a sleep turn. Electro Shot potential from the Archaludon into the Calyrex. A few things that could happen here. Kyogre wakes up immediately. Clicks Origin Pulse. It misses something. Misses the Raging Bolt. Calyrex is off the field now. If you're Andrew in this scenario, it missing the Raging Bolt is actually pretty good. Unfortunately, losing the Calyrex there is unfortunate. The Draco Meteor missed. Ooh, if you're in Andrew's position, you feel so good about that. The Kyogre's off the field, the Urshifu's off the field. All of the really threatening rain Pokemon are off the field now. And I think Jonathan Sarah is still on the table. You have to be potentially worried still about the Archaludon being able to Terra Grass when you have able to switch in. But another thing too is Volt Switch actually lets Andrew have the option to potentially bring out Raging Bolt again. There is also another potential play of Andrew bringing in the Amoonguss now, switching it out for Raging Bolt, because Raging Bolt slot is not really as threatened now that the... Oh no, the Archaludon missed, so it's not actually at -2. You know, Jonathan does have Terra on the table, so there's still potential for the Archaludon here to Terra Grass, just to basically negate any sort of Spore immunity, or to get any sort of attempted Spore. I think it's going to be on Jonathan's, or it's going to be on Andrew's Urshifu and Raging Bolt to actually do the damage needed to break through Jonathan's Amoonguss and Archaludon. Andrew's scenario here, you kind of want to try to preserve the Urshifu to crit through the stamina boosts that will potentially rack up on the Archaludon. Another thing to be worried about as well is Archaludon with Body Press. You have to be worried about that. You have to be worried about Amoonguss Spore. There's still a little bit more of... Still a lot more game to play here is the best way to put it. Archaludon actually Terras into Grass now. And it covers for this. It covers for Spore, and you also remove. You also. No, never mind. It doesn't change the type matchups from Raging Bolt at all. Electro Shot coming in. That's going to be the +1 special attack boost to the Archaludon. It's going to probably be into the Urshifu to try to break Sash. Sash is broken. The critical hit probably did not matter there. And the Pollen Puff is going to be into the Urshifu to KO that. Jonathan's position now, you feel very comfortable with that because you have a +1 Archaludon staring down a Raging Bolt, and either Pokemon here is now Spore immune. back in, but it's gonna be very rough for try to pull this back. You kind of need the Draco Meteor here to miss. But it doesn't. And with that, I don't think Amoonguss would have the damage potential to. Looks like Andrew's taking off the headphones. With the rain stopping, Archaludon's actually only at -1, but the Amoonguss is only at half HP. Actually just clicks side Pollen Puff, letting Jonathan pick up the KO, finish out the game normally. And Jonathan side Pollen Puffs to basically, if the Amoonguss has the damage potential to try to go through the Archaludon, that ensures that take multiple turns to do it. The Archaludon can actually click out multiple special attacks to actually finally pick up the KO. With that, Andrew is knocked out at top 8, or top 4, and Jonathan actually moves on to the finals. I believe our other finals is still in set right now, so we'll actually come back soon and figure out like who he's actually going to be in finals with. That being said, if you're Andrew in this scenario, I mean, you went into a top 4 round against probably one of your closest friends and team building buddies, so it's not always so bad. If anything, you feel a whole lot better about how this game went because there wasn't the rampant critical hits that had happened in the round 3 back in Swiss. It also goes to show just the power the Kyogre still has, and the crazy thing is a lot of people were actually underestimating the damage potential that Kyogre had, or not necessarily damage potential, but ability for it to do its damage. Because like there's a lot more priority moves going around. You saw Chien-Pao Dragonite was another thing that can like chunk things down. Calyrex has been there for a while, especially Shadow Rider, and there was just a whole lot put into question going into Regulation G of just how much can Kyogre do if it can't click Water Spout and it's forced to click, say, like Origin Pulse. In which case, we can see that a well-supported Kyogre can still put out insanely good water type damage just in the rain. All right.